religion still kind of triggers me because I feel like the spirit of religion held me back for so
Yeah.
long.
Yeah.
And there's still God can still work in that, and he's still in that, and it's still of him, and everyone I think means well, but so many people are trying to, I don't know, there's so many different, for me, I feel like what God put on my heart recently is that there's so many different, he's got so many different types of children, and so many different people have had so many different paths, that there has to be so many unique different ways to reach those different people.
But
And I'm like,
within, like, Christianity.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, right, yeah, within Christianity. I meant like Catholicism, or just like, well, yeah,
Orthodoxy or
yes, yeah,
non-denominational.
yeah, exactly.
Wow.
Like,
It's so crazy that you're bringing this up because my husband and I are going through transition. He grew up Orthodox, and,
oh,
when I came to faith, all I knew was non-denominational church because that's our Western culture, for the most
yeah,
part. And I started going to the Orthodox church with him, but with the Orthodox church, it's like a commitment. If you decide to be chrismated Orthodox, you're in the church. Like, you can't worship anywhere else. This is your home. You're now an Orthodox
yeah,
Christian. And I
yeah,
had so much, like, church hurt and trauma before. Like, when I first came to Jesus, I was like, it's all relationship, no religion, da da da. And honestly, like, I've continued to heal through that over the past few years and come to understand too that, okay, what is religion? Religion is
yeah,
just an expression of that relationship.
yeah,
Though, if people get too stuck in just the religion and the traditions, they can oftentimes forget that relationship, but that's not God's design.
yeah,
So my heart has been softened so much lately
that's good.
towards religion and towards,
Yeah,
like, Catholicism and Orthodoxy, and I've been seeking the truth and answers on that as well. So it's interesting that you brought that up because I've been really praying for God to give me clarity on that. Like,
yeah,
the true church. What is the true church? Is there
right,
a true church? And so I kind
right,
of like that answer too. Is there's so many different children with so many different backgrounds and upbringings, and I really tell my husband, I'm like, I wouldn't have jumped into the Orthodox church. Like, the non-denominational church was a great place for me to start as somebody who just came out of such sin and new age and
yes,
sexual
yes,
sin. It
yes,
was a very, like,
welcoming.
welcoming place for me to start my journey. I wouldn't have started my journey at the Orthodox church for
I
sure.
wouldn't have been able to go back to a Catholic church and been like, I still don't even know what, if I could find the right person at a Catholic church that could even understand what I experienced and witnessed,
Yeah.
like talking about a demon. I don't know, you know?
Yeah.
Um, but something that just came to me that was, again, me trying to find a way to explain how, which I can't negate that there are still people that are strong in their Catholic faith and upbringing that have a very strong relationship with Jesus, right? It's just not where I found mine, but it
Mhm.
was part of my journey. That was still my foundation that had him in my heart from a baby. And I am grateful for that. I was baptized as a baby, but I still think it's important to get baptized as an adult. And that changed
Mhm.
my life too. But how I describe what I felt like I was getting from God with the filter of religion was like I felt like, and it happened to just be Catholicism for me. So this is just my testimony and experience, was like
Mhm.
I felt like I was getting the drips of like 15 coffee filters on God. And I'm like, "Oh, thank you." And there's like
Yeah.
all these filters that it should be like a fire hose to the
Mhm.
face of like, if you want that, if you
Yeah.
want that and you're seeking that, you can have that type of relationship with him. But religion had me like, oh, yes, I love these little drops. I'm like, what? I don't
Yeah.
want that.
Yeah.
I don't want that. And yeah, like it filtered so much of him for me, but
No, I
and
can
it
kind of
still was all
understand
part
that.
of my walk. Yeah, it was still all part of my walk, but yeah, yeah,
No, I appreciate hearing your response on that, as it's something I don't even talk about on the podcast right now, to be honest, because it's
yeah,
still a grounds in which I'm figuring out.
yeah,
Um, and yeah, exploring, and I don't have, like, confident answers to give in that regard.
yeah,
Um, but just remembering to stay humble because anytime I think I know something, like, God humbles me right away.
totally, totally. Well, and it's not, and it doesn't mean that like that feels that way to somebody else in that same
Yeah,
denomination
for sure.
or, so but that's how it felt for me, and then there
Yeah.
was so much freedom but there is still so much important well, like everyone just got has I mean, what you need to know is Jesus and that
Mhm.
he's the son of God and
Yep.
how so many people believe in God, but they're missing the Jesus piece, which was also me. I was like, I believe in God and like I was taught about Jesus, but I don't really get why do we have to know
Yep.
Jesus to know God? What is
That's
the
often the
significance?
New Agers. Yeah.
Yes,
Mhm.
yes, exactly. Like, what about Jesus really matters if I'm just connected to God anyways? And you're like, well, because Jesus and what he did is what allows you into eternity, and his blood and his sacrifice allows you to be seen and received by God for all the things that you've done wrong. It's
Yeah.
hard. I'm still not even the best at explaining that. I mean, I guess I just gave it my best try, whatever God wanted me to
No, that's
say, but like,
great. Yeah.
I didn't understand that for so long. I was like, I believe in Jesus because someone told me to, and I'm sure that it's been written about for so long that it did happen. I do think that that happened, but I didn't understand the significance of how
Yep.
and what it meant for me and my relationship with God.
And that's the primary thing, like you said. For me, I think, like, the visual that helped me understand what Jesus did, especially as someone who came from the New Age and, like, you're always seeking to be one with God and connect with God and, like, have access to God, at
Yep.
least, like, that's what I was after when I was in the New
Yeah.
Age as well, is that Jesus is the one who made that possible. Like,
Yes.
when he died on the cross and gave up his life and his spirit and then resurrected,
Yep.
there was an earthquake, like, massive things on the earth happened. There was an earthquake, the temple split in half, the curtain in the temple, like, tore in two, and now all humans had access, that direct access to God, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh," so we there's a little bit of truth that the New Agers realize and realizing, like, "Oh, we all have access to God," but they don't realize that, yeah, because of Jesus and what
Yeah.
he did do we have that
Yeah.
access, and
Yes.
that's why the Bible teaches that only through him do we have that access.
Yes. Yes.
It's not a
Well, and
gatekeeper thing.
yes, and that's the thing, which I didn't even get into this, I think, on here, but God had sent me the words Christ consciousness down in my sleep when I was praying on if yoga is really something you want out of my life, I need you to speak on it because I know that you're capable of sending me things down in the middle of the night because you've done it before. And if
Yeah.
this is really that important, please do so. And it wasn't the first time I had asked that. I'd been praying on it for like a month and a half. And then one night I just did it more passionately. And I mean, and I think it was probably all the prayers together, like all of it. Um, Whatever. It was this the time. And it was Christ consciousness, which essentially what a lot of people believe in New Age is that, yeah, yeah, Jesus existed. I'm not going to negate that he existed and he performed miracles or whatever. But the level of consciousness that Jesus like obtained was by going inward. And he's
Mhm.
one of us many ascended masters.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, Up in wherever, if it's heaven that they believe in or whatever they think, the afterlife or whatever they think, it's a variety. People think so many weird things because
Mhm.
there's so many weird things that have been created. Um, and I think at a time because I had spent so much time in yoga that I was even like, I still believe in Jesus for some reason, but maybe like I remember one of my good friends, she had a trip on I think it was mushrooms where
Mhm.
she had a trip which to me now is so clearly demonic, but she thinks was like her having this experience with God
Yeah.
where she saw all of the gods up in heaven like hanging out and laughing and hanging and smiling or whatever,
Mhm.
like all as
Yeah.
equals.
Yeah, of course you would see that on psychedelics.
Right. Which is the whole trick. That's the whole trick.
Yep, yep. I remember getting in the Christ consciousness the same time as I was getting into yoga. And, like, I grew up, sorta Christian, that was my background, and so when I heard that, I was like, "Oh," I was like, "The truth has been right here this whole time, and it's just been warped," and I remember thinking that same thing, and even I was reading the Bible again at that point, trying to understand it from that Gnostic lens now. So I at
Right.
that point, I was telling people I'm not a Christian. I even went on a mission trip that I'd already signed up for, and I was telling, the leaders, I'm like, "I'm not a Christian, but I believe in God and the Holy Spirit." Oh my gosh. the one lady, like, kind of shunned me after that, and I'm like, "See," I'm like, "It's this hypocritical nature that makes me not wanna be a Christian," but anyways, it
Yeah.
was that's what I believe too. I was like, "There's something to Jesus," but yeah, I think we all can attain this, and that was the start to my fall into the devil's playground of the new age, was believing those things.